All the money I'd saved up is gone, and I went back to sex work because I had to support my daughter. I can't afford to cover my rent, and the cost of living is going up.
Whether it's stripping, street work, OnlyFans, online or in person, sex work in Britain is booming. But at what price?
There is no doubt in my mind that people are doing more riskier forms of sex work to get by.
Women have told us they're returning to work in brothels and taking on potentially more dangerous clients just to pay their spiralling bills.
The women that we hear from every single day are being pushed into sex work because of poverty.
If we had money in our hands, I wouldn't be in this situation to start with. I do my best to protect my daughter, and this is just all really for her.
The world of sex work can be precarious. Stacey Clare, aka the ethical stripper, wants to take stripping out of the shadows and into a space where she and other workers set their terms. Life drawing classes run by and to support sex workers. Stacey is tonight's model. But like so many, the cost of living crisis is never far from her mind.
History teaches us that when we see economic downturn, the most vulnerable people in society are closer to harm. I worry about my community. I worry about the people that I've come to know and be close to. And I know that a lot of people in our community are really living in quite precarious circumstances.
One of the things we've been told is that sex workers are being put in much riskier situations because of the cost of living crisis.
There is no doubt in my mind that people are doing more riskier forms of sex work to get by. We did a party recently, private location in the middle of nowhere. Some of us just basically drove out into the countryside, and luckily enough, it went well. But if anything had gone wrong,
while Stacey accepts she's in a more privileged position than most in her industry, there are many who are just about surviving. Take single mum Janelle, not her real name. When her energy bills more than doubled, it all became too much. Having left years ago, she has recently returned to sex work.
My bills started skyrocketing. I had to move out of my flat and find somewhere cheaper. I just feel like my whole life has turned upside down due to the conditions I'm working in now.
Do you find you're taking riskier jobs and it's more dangerous because you need the money?
Before, I could think about my safety and whether I should take that client or not, but now I don't really have much of a choice. I work longer hours just to make the same amount of money, and I never spend anything on myself like clothes. My only expenses are my daughter, food, housing. I have to be so careful. My daughter was asking me for a Happy Meal the other day, and then I had to pause and check my bank account to see if I could afford it today or if I should wait till tomorrow.
Hi, yes, how can I help?
From housing to heating, in the last few months, the English Collective of Prostitutes, which supports sex workers, say they've received hundreds of calls from women asking for help.
Most of the women we're seeing are mothers. I mean, that has to say something about what's happening out there, why people are being pushed into sex work at this moment in time. Because the other jobs that you can do don't pay enough to make ends meet. We get women calling asking for food vouchers or whether we can help them find their nearest food bank. They're worried about the high energy bills, they're worried about the cost of transportation. A lot of women calling about housing issues.
You've touched on this. Obviously, there are a number of grey areas when it comes to sex work. Some of it's legal, some of it's illegal.
Even though it's not illegal to exchange sex for money, if you work in a premises with just even one other woman, you're actually breaking the law and you can be done for brothel keeping. What we're asking for is, particularly at this moment in time, in a cost of living crisis, decriminalise sex work. Women shouldn't be punished for earning a living, for supporting their families.
There will be people who say that if you make sex work legal, then essentially you're kind of legitimising and giving free rein to pimps and traffickers. You're saying, this is okay, we're on your side. What's your take on that?
New Zealand decriminalised. They decriminalised way back in 2003, and all the evidence shows that it's actually made it safer for sex workers.
As the cold weather bites, we're in Leeds, where the Basis Sex Worker Project has been set up to support cis and trans women working on the streets. Here, donated clothes are being dropped off for sex workers.
We are really worried about women that don't see themselves as sex workers but are turning to survival sex, for want of a better phrase, and are being asked to do sexual services for money, in exchange for money, without knowing that there's a service out there that can help them, and then they're being sexually exploited.
When approached by Channel 4 News, a government spokesperson said it was providing an extensive cost of living package for families this winter, adding that they were committed to protecting those selling sex from harm, enabling the police to target those who they said exploit vulnerable people. While rising bills and living in poverty is no secret, being a sex worker for some has to be.
I'll never tell any of my family or friends what I do. They think I'm a cleaner. Essentially, I do my best to protect my daughter, and this is just all really for her.
The more people could start to see sex workers as human beings with complex lives, with relationships, with kids and families and homes and responsibilities and commitments, it's like anyone else. We're not that different.